Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here. Today we have a totally awesome book. I cannot wait to share it with you. DC Comics presents Just Imagine Stan Lee creating the DC Universe Omnibus. What? I mean, yes, how cool is this? Look at this gorgeous Adam Hughes cover. Cannot wait to show it to you. Subscribe to my channel, hit like. Let's get right into this puppy because it's so big and good and cannot wait. Stan Lee's cover, signature embossed on the cover here. So DC Comics, thank God whoever pulled this together had the presence of mind to do this, especially with Stan, passing. Imagine Stan Lee creating the DC universe. I mean, Stan Lee is the co-creator of the Marvel universe with Jack Kirby. I mean, it would have been cooler, imagine Stan Lee and Jack Kirby creating the DC universe, but this is what we have. I believe this is after Jack Kirby's passing, perhaps. So this is basically taking all of DC's characters and letting Stan Lee run with it. There are so many great creators on this book, like, so cool, like, so many great names, legends. This beautiful cover by Adam Hughes. Hi, true believers. I mean, how fun is it to see that on a DC comic book? You got Batman with Stan Lee and Joe Kubert, Wonder Woman with Jim Lee, Superman with John Buscema, Green Lantern with Dave Gibbons, The Flash with Kevin McGuire, JLA with Jerry Ordway, Robin with John Byrne, my beloved John Byrne, Shazam with Gary Frank, Aquaman with Scott McDaniel, Catwoman with Chris Bachalo, Sandman with Walter Simonson, and Crisis with John Cassidy, and more. There's like backup features by other great artists. So cool. This is a gorgeous omnibus. The art is presented beautifully. These were originally like one-shots, like, bookshelf formats. Front piece by John Cassidy here. Looking very cool. Adam Hughes, cover artist. Adam Hughes was supposed to do the front covers of all the books, and then they changed it to the back covers. On one hand, I was a little disappointed because Adam Hughes is one of my favorite artists and one of the greatest cover artists. However, so many legends were working on this that I think they deserve the opportunity to have their art on the cover. And the back cover is just fine for Adam Hughes. I mean, come on, you have Joe Kubert co-creating, Batman with Stan Lee, and look how beautiful that is. So we didn't want to lose that cover. It's so cool because is this the best version? Is it all great? Not 100%, but it's so cool on so many levels. Joe Kubert, artist, Bill Oakley, letterer, Sibin Slavic, colorist, Joe Kubert with Richard Eisenoff cover, Adam Hughes back cover, and then the backup story, Stan Lee and Michael Uslan dialogue. So Michael Uslan was sort of a co-writer on this, providing dialogue for a lot of the backup features and stuff. Michael William Kaluta, artist, Bill Oakley, letterer, and Alex Sinclair, colorist. So, I mean, the talent on this book knows no bounds. Like, it is just running over. It's funny because growing up, I was never a huge fan of Joe Kubert, but I definitely have a new appreciation of his art now, and I think it's cool. I do like Adam Kubert and Andy Kubert's art a lot, and they definitely feel like the same gene as their father, so it's fun in a lot of ways. I mean, I feel like this came pretty late in the game, too, so makes you wonder, how they pick the creative teams, obviously based on who was available, who was still working. And that's pretty cool. A little more literal, with the Batman angle. And I believe, making him a African-American was definitely, feels a little more like Marvel in a way. I feel like is it fair to say they were a little more progressive as far as things like that go? But then I think of the Green Lantern, Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil run, and it's hard to say. So I feel like one of the big differences, and here we are in the Michael Kaluta backup story, one of the big differences between, Marvel and DC is that DC's heroes, we admired them, and then Marvel's heroes, we could relate to them. Once again, is that fair to say? Gorgeous cover by Adam Hughes. I mean, how cool is that? I love Adam Hughes. The composition, the color is just amazing. It's very striking. And then, I mean, come on. You know, I'm sometimes not a fan of doppelgangers of characters or avatars or different art incarnations, but a lot of these are just so great. I mean, this is a beautiful design on Wonder Woman, and then you have Jim Lee drawing it. Like, how cool is that? I think there was like a more of a Incan or a Mayan sort of tie to this character, and I think that's a really cool angle to go. Stan Lee writer, Jim Lee penciler, Scott Williams inker, Bill Oakley letterer, Alex Sinclair colorist. And then on the backstory, we got Gene Colan penciler. That's very cool. I love Gene Colan. Tom Palmer inker, Bill Oakley letterer, Laverne Kanzierski colorist. Very cool splash page there. I mean, you know, and these weren't complete throwaways. They had, you know, their origins and their supporting casts. And so it felt very fleshed out. It felt very well thought out. And the event that it was. I love this omnibus. I don't think I collected all the individual issues when they first came out. God knows why, but, you know, you can't get everything, I guess. And I've never felt, you know, so beholden to Stan Lee, but I mean, this is like a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity, event, experience. So very cool all around. And Jim Lee's art looks very cool. It's funny because I feel like there was a point in Jim Lee where he was slightly influenced by J. Scott Campbell, and I feel like I'm seeing that a little bit in his women's faces here. Which is weird to say because obviously J. Scott Campbell was hired as a Jim Lee sort of, you know, not clone, but, you know, in the same vein or wheelhouse or whatever. Definitely came into his own as an artist for sure. Who doesn't love J. Scott Campbell and his infinite variant covers? They're so rare. They're everywhere. I mean, look at this Gene Colan art. Very few inkers can pull off inking Gene Colan, I think. Like, I think it would be very difficult. His art, his pencils are so sketchy. He uses the side of the pencil. So there's a lot of room for interpretation. I feel like Tom Palmer is definitely a good inker for Gene Colan. Hooray for Hollywood. It's always nice to see the Hollywood sign. It's an Angelino. One of the best images ever. I love that. I love Adam Hughes' run on as cover artist on Wonder Woman, and for him to pull this out, this is just so beautiful and such an iconic shot. I mean, just, you know, he uses Photoshop, and man, it's just beautiful. If I could be one artist, I always say it'd be John Byrne, but man, I wouldn't mind being Adam Hughes either. So now we move on to this gorgeous John Buscema Superman. Like, how gorgeous is that for real? I love that. That is so iconic. I think that the weird thing is that he's like the only one not powered, maybe. Anyway, sorry about not knowing too much of the story, but you know, I'm always about the art critiques on this channel, and I don't like to spoil the story anyway, so if you didn't know this existed, or you did, and now you see how freaking cool it is, you gotta run out and read it yourself. Stan Lee, writer, John Buscema, artist, so he's penciling and inking, which is very cool. Bill Oakley, letterer, Chris Chukri, colorist, John Buscema cover, Adam Hughes back cover, and then for the backup story, we got Kyle Baker on art with Bill Oakley lettering. How cool. I love Kyle Baker. Cannot wait to see that. So this is a very different kind of Krypton. Very cool, nonetheless. I love this design for Superman. You know, I love whatever the thought process that went into it. Maybe this is sort of like thinking along the lines of Captain America or something, but it's like to make my version different, he will definitely be blonde for sure, which I'm all for, of course, as a blonde person myself. I've always loved the blonde characters. I mean, you know, it speaks to like inclusion and representation. Not that there haven't been enough blonde representation in entertainment throughout the years, for sure. But I get it. Like, it's always more exciting to see someone you can relate to in a comic book. And that's why they should run the gamut and include everything. It's a good thing. Are these the Flying Graysons? I mean, maybe. It would be kind of weird to have trapeze artists that look like Dick Grayson and have it not be the Flying Graysons, right? Parker Place and Kent Street. Peter Parker, Clark Kent. Clark and Peter Ice Cream. I see what you did there, Stanley. Very clever, if it was you. Maybe it was your secretary. Stan, you should put Pete, Paka, and Kent on the van. That's a great idea, Chippy. That's my Stanley impersonation. You've waited your whole life to hear that, haven't you? I don't know, that's looking super vaginal right there. What's happening? See, that's what happens when, you know, they say the hallmark of a good comic book penciler is that you should be able to tell what's going on without reading the dialogue. And I can tell you, I have no idea what's going on there, and nor do I want to. But I mean, how cool is this? Oh my gosh, as if on cue. What a great splash page there. That is epic. Obviously, a little reminiscent of the famous Neil Adams shot of Superman breaking the chains. I only wish they were made with the glowing green kryptonite there. Do we get to see kryptonite in here? I sure hope so. And I said he didn't have powers. He obviously has powers. I don't know what's going on in this story, but it's Stan Lee creating the DC universe. Face it, true believers, this one has it all. On the Street, Kyle Baker, such a great cartoonist. I love his art so much. Plastic Man by Kyle Baker, choice. Of course, pushy Butch Lois Lane running around. Another freaking iconic Adam Hughes. I mean, Adam was killing it. Adam definitely got the memo that you were working on an important... I'm glad they didn't tell him it was going to be the back covers because he might not have put as much into it. But man, he nailed these covers. Are just freaking gorgeous. I love the perfect marriage of, you know, because he traditionally pencils and inks and then colors in Photoshop and like such beautiful effects. Green Lantern by Dave Gibbons and Stanley. How cool. Penciler Dave Gibbons, ink by Dick Giordano. That's kind of cool. Not a huge fan of Dick Giordano's inks for some reason. I feel like they're so heavy and just look like Dick Giordano, and definitely... But I mean, I think a lot of times he's good on someone who needs his help, and then sometimes too overpowering on someone who doesn't. I feel like Dave Gibbons probably didn't need much help, but it's not the worst defense. I don't hate this art here. The backup story, penciler Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. How awesome is that? Cannot wait to see that. This actually looks pretty cool. I'm not mad at this art, but I mean, we know what Dave Gibbons art is supposed to look like, so... And this definitely looks like Dave Gibbons art with a heavy Dick Giordano finish. A lot of these are pretty left field, and it's a good thing because you should have a departure from the original for sure. Everyone's blonde. Another blonde. Just saying, Stanley. Just imagine Stanley creating a group of blondes for the DC universe. I mean, I'm sorry, but see, not so in love with the Duke Giordano inks. And we don't even know 100% if he did it. I guess notoriously he had a lot of assistants do his work and stuff. So, ooh, the Jose Luis Garcia Lopez backup story is looking pretty good. Love his art, of course. That is cool. Another Adam Hughes creation. Kind of love that it's all green, too. The Flash, Kevin McGuire art. Very cool. Stan Lee writer, Kevin McGuire penciler, Carl Story inker, Bill Oakley letterer, Chris Chuckry colorist. Backstory, Sergio Aragones artist. How interesting. Of Gru fame. Dominatrix, leather skirt, love it. Carl Story is such a great inker and such a great choice for Kevin McGuire. Perfectly suited. This is fun art. I mean, remember we all fell in love with just Kevin McGuire on Justice League International, inked by Terry Austin, which was super cool, of course. Digging it. Loving the underwater scenes. Where's the obligatory shark? Or are these piranhas? I don't know, but the art is so much fun on this. I love it. And I am a woman. You are a man and I am a woman. Stan Lee breaking new ground here. Very cool. Love that. Practical with the streamers? Probably not. But looking cool nonetheless. Aragones on the back up here. How fun is that? Like, I love that Kyle Baker and Aragones were included. I mean, they don't seem like the first choice, but very cool nonetheless. And with panels like that, that just makes me happy. My brother was a huge Gru fan. I never really read it or got into it, but I totally love his art and appreciate it. What a beautiful shot of the Flash there. So much fun. Adam Hughes just killing it all over the place. What a great contribution to this. So now what do we have here? The JLA. Okay. Ooh, and Jerry Ordway, one of my favorites. One of the most classic superhero comic book artists. Stanley writer, Jerry Ordway artist, Bill Oakley letterer, Dave Barron colorist. So I guess there's no backup story in this one. Jerry Ordway just doing it and doing it and doing it well. Loved his Infinity ink. That was my introduction to him. Just as good of an inker as he is a penciler. Loved his inks on John Byrne's Fantastic Four towards the end there. Loved his inks on George Perez for like the second arc of Crisis on Infinite Earths. And love his stuff on his own with Infinity Ink. He did the Adventures of Superman pencils. Wildstar for Image with, oh dear, what's his name? Al Gordon. Very Marvel of them to all get together. Although I guess DC does it too, right? I mean, this is the JLA after all. I mean, in the sheer, like, size of this, like, it just, like, they had main stories, backup stories, and several issues. I mean, just kind of crazy when you think about it. What a dope double page spread that is. That is so cool. This is just a fun superhero comic book. It's weird. I wonder what the standing is on these characters, like if they could bring them back anytime. I mean, obviously, I feel like DC would own the characters since they're all their characters anyway, just sort of Stan Lee's spin on them. But who knows? I don't know if they ever came back or if they ever tried, but I kind of would like to see another series sort of exploring these characters. Would you guys like to see that? I mean, feel free to comment. How did you feel about this book? I mean, I just bought into it for the pure fun of it. Like, obviously, I don't hold it to sort of any sort of real standard. There's no, they're not going to be in like major continuity or anything like that. So, and now we have Secret Files and Origins. Interesting. Dan Jurgens, penciler, Bob Layton, inker, Bill Oakley, letterer, Tom McGraw, colorist, Stan Lee with Michael Uslan, dialogue. Dan Jurgens, I mean, is such a legend and like such an important part of comic book history. It's funny because I always felt like he's such a great storyteller, and I do like his pencils, but I always felt a little bit like a blank slate. Like, I feel like he's one of those pencilers who worked a lot with different finishers and inkers to sort of bring, an extra level to his work. That is very cool there. Hooray for Hollywood. I think I said that already. So now I'm repeating myself. The video goes long when I start repeating myself. I'm sorry, but that is such cool armor. Looks like a huge pain in the ass to draw. Thank God she doesn't have her own monthly book. Like, if whoever had to draw that every month would be crying. Now, this is fun. Very cartoonish. But do we know who drew it? Ad parody. I don't know. Anyway, here we go, you guys. Oh, cool. I kind of forgot about this. 21 minutes into the video. Here we go. John Byrne and Austin Robin. Just imagine Stan Lee creating Robin by John Byrne and Terry Austin. We have a very different looking Robin there, and that is cool. I see it's weird because, John Byrne has talked about it, and I'm sure I talk about it. Like, you always think of Terry Austin as, like, the greatest inker for John Byrne's pencils, and he said themselves that their styles sort of grew apart over the years. And I have to say, like, this is so different from, like, what you're getting on the X-Men that I don't know if knowing what of course, I probably love this immediately just because it's John Byrne and Terry Austin, but dissecting it, maybe he's right. Maybe they did grow apart a little bit, and maybe they aren't perfect for each other anymore, but it's still freaking badass, so I will take it. Stan Lee, writer, John Byrne, penciler, Terry Austin, inker, Bill Oakley, letterer, Alex Sinclair, colorist. And props to Alex Sinclair, such a great colorist. John Byrne and Terry Austin with Alex Sinclair covers. Adam Hughes back cover, and then the backstory is illustrated by John Severin, letterer Bill Oakley, and colorist Alex Sinclair. So that's cool. I mean, come on, this is the Stan Lee Batman and Robin there. Like, crazy, right? I mean, I have to say, as cool as this is, and as much as I love John Byrne and how much I do love this book, I mean, let's face it, it cannot hold a candle to the version of Batman and Robin created by Bob King and Bill Finger. I mean, obviously. See, it's just kind of weird how, like, I feel like Austin's ink line got, like, a little fatter. I don't know. I feel like he might be using different tools, or it's just the way he's doing it, but I don't know what to say. Like, I don't want to say I don't like it, but I do want to say, like, it's definitely different. It's not as, I don't know. I think that's what it is. Like, a lot of the lines just feel thicker than normal or something like that. But then, I mean, you're still getting a lot of the Austin goodness of him adding a lot of great textures and techniques ink-wise to the page. But, I have to say, like, the fun and joy of superheroes, and, they're so far away from it now. And, I mean, they still do in a way, but I just love classic superhero costumes. And that just looks like a Street Fighter or something. So, not my favorite version of Robin's, to be honest with you. Carlin, reference to Mike Carlin. Comic book artists are always putting in little Bill finger or Bob finger, Bill finger, Bow finger, Bob finger, Bill finger, Bob finger. No, Bob King, Bill finger. Jerry Robinson. God, it was like I was having a stroke there, guys. I apologize. Fingers Deli. Yuck. I don't want to eat there. I mean, you know, that pastrami slicer is pretty sharp. You don't want a finger in your sandwich. Martial Arts Arcade. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, what is even going on here, right? Cool shot there. I'll just let you drink in the Burn Austin goodness. And he's like, hell no. And there's a Robin. I'm Robin, and the best there is at what I do. And what I do isn't very nice. Razor sharp, adamantium claws. Anyway, John Severin doing the backup here. I love John Severin's art. I have Rawhide Kid in my pile of stuff to do. And he's just like such a great classic artist. That looks like his sister Marie. Was he perhaps putting her in there as a character? Perhaps. Legend Marie Severin. Great shot of Robin there. I do love that Adam Hughes art. I love his armpit here. Very fun. And here we go, the Gary Frank Shazam. Penciler Gary Frank, inker Sandra Hope, letterer Bill Oakley, Chris Chuckery, colorist, Gary Frank and Sandra Hope cover, the backup story, Sergio Aragones once again, Bill Oakley, letterer, Lee Lowridge, colorist. I love Gary Frank's art. It's very interesting because, you know, when he was on Hulk, he was inked by Cam Smith, and it was very smooth and beautiful. And then I feel like he went to Top Cow to do Midnight Nation, and they stuck like one of their super detailed inkers on him, and then he must have liked that aesthetic because he started working with that kind of finisher. And I have to say, I prefer the smoother inks of Cam Smith, but it doesn't look bad. I do love Gary Frank's art, so this is cool. And I do admire, like, the different spins that Stanley put on this, because a lot of them are very much a departure. I mean, they look nothing like the original characters, so obviously, if you're going to do something like this, you want it to have some sort of impact. So I guess this is the Shazam Genie, whatever. It feels in line with the original a little bit. Right? Although a little Hulkish in a way, sort of combining the Hulk and Shazam together if he turns into like this big scary monster. Aragones? Is that you? No. Did we say Aragones was going to do this? I guess we did, but that looks very different. Adam Hughes, so cool. This looks like a 1950s like movie poster or something. Love it. Now who do we have? Aquaman, Scott McDaniel. I do like Scott McDaniel's art. I thought it was cool. Like I loved his like Elektra and like what else was he doing? Klaus Janson inker. Klaus Janson, of course, always brings so much. I think he's going to be great on someone like Scott McDaniel because Scott was using this sort of pared down, sort of loose style. And the backup story, illustrated by Ramona Fraden. How cool is that? Letters Jack Morelli and Guy Nature, colorist. Cannot wait to see that. This is like, Scott McDaniel was definitely following a sort of a Frank Miller Sin City style for a while. It was pretty, like, even more obvious at first, but then he sort of found his groove. And kind of cool having Klaus Hansen ink him. Love sharks, so anytime a shark can appear, that is fantastic. I'm so unique in my love of sharks. I'm sure everyone loves them. What's not to love? They're cool as hell. This is kind of fun. Like, so Aquaman's more like a water elemental in this version. That feels kind of Marvel-ish in a way. Although, I mean, arguably Submariner is, Marvel's Aquaman, so. I mean, not being blown away. I would say, the whole thing is more cool than anything else. I mean, there's a lot of great things in here. There's so much great, beautiful art. But, I don't know. Was it lacking a little bit? Perhaps. Beverly Hills Police Department. That is so cool because I've driven past it there many times and that's exactly what it looks like. Did we say who the backup story was? Ramona Frayden, that's right. Very cool. And that is cool too. Adam Hughes, once again, killing it. Beautiful. Yes, this is going to be so good. Catwoman by Chris Bachalo. I mean, how gorgeous is that? Stanley Writer, Chris Broccolo, penciler, Richard Friend, inker, Bill Oakley, letterer, Alex Sinclair, colorist. The backup story, Darwin Cook, penciler, very cool. Mike Allred, inker. Oh my gosh. Wow. Look at this beautiful splash page. I love Chris Broccolo's work. It's so interesting, the trajectory of his career. Starting out on the Death miniseries and more sort of indie Vertigo kind of books. And then I feel like he did Generation X. That was very smart to scoop him up, and he was killing it on that. And eventually, became the X-Men artist. I mean, very cool. I love his use of Zipatone. I feel like, especially during, some of his X-Men runs, some of his art definitely, I mean, you're on a monthly schedule. It did feel a little rushed. But there's a certain quirkiness and just sort of mixture of texture and grim and gritty along with it, coupled with this sort of cartoonish style that just makes it so appealing. Another blonde character. Stanley's Aryan DC race. Lots of cool shots here. I don't know if I'm in love with this or not. I mean, it does look cool in a way, but then it does look just kind of blurry. Very Chris Bachalo looking. I'm a fan, people. I'm a fan. Here's the backup street by Darwin Cook. I mean, how unmistakably Darwin Cook is that? Inked by Mike Allred, nonetheless. No, I have to say. I have to check. Usually, well, no. Usually if Allred's penciling, Laura Allred is coloring. But not this time. Nope, Alex Sinclair. Okay. Acceptable. This is everything. I mean, that just blew me away the first time I ever saw it. What a great shot at Catwoman by Adam Hughes, who was also a Catwoman cover artist. So it's very cool to have this different version here. Love that so much. Drink that in, people. What? Do we have? Yes. Sandman by Walt Simonson, ink Bob Wiacek, Bill Oakley, letterer, Lee Lohich, colorist. Richard Corbin doing the backup story. No way. I mean, this is a treasure trove of just hidden nuggets and just epic dopeness. I mean, Walt Simonson. What's not to love about Walt Simonson's art? I feel like I fell in love with his art on the X-Men Teen Titans crossover. And I haven't looked back. My brother was a big fan of his Thor, which I know I would be too, but I don't think I've ever read it. How unconscionable is that? I love Walt Simonson. Anytime Walt Simonson wants to draw a comic, I'm there for it. There's just such energy, and he's just so unique to me. Did I go too fast? Sorry, have to buy it. Richard Corbin doing the backup here. Like, how cool is that? That is such a great splash page. Oh, the Richard Corbin goodness. Oh my God, it looks so cool. His little stippling and all his little inks. That wasn't very long. How disappointing. Oh well. That is cool. Another great Adam Hughes creation. Very fantasy, like sword and sorcery art. Now we have John Cassidy doing Crisis on Infinite Earths. Is that what we're looking at here next? Stanley writer, John Cassidy artist, Bill Oakley letterer, Alex Sinclair colorist, John Cassidy cover, Adam Hughes back cover, and apparently no backup story. I love this. I love the roll call. I've always loved that. The dramatis personae, if you will. Great double page spread there. I mean, this group of heroes has been through the gamut. They've all like come into their own, had their own origins and adventures, teamed up, came together, and now they're facing a crisis. Just imagine Stan Lee creating characters that will face a crisis. Some pretty fun, cool John Cassidy art. You know, I admire his art a lot, and I really appreciate it, but I don't go gaga over it the way some people do. I mean, it just seems a little, you know, straightforward. Not to say that that's a bad thing. Clear, concise storytelling is always welcome. Well, that's crazy. Is that Adam Hughes? My God. Like, he really went for it with that one. So what do we have here? Profiles pages. Just imagine. I mean, this is so all-inclusive and so, like, just neat. Love that they have, like, the Secret Origins profile pages. See, Dave Gibbons inking so much better than the Dick Giordano, sorry to say. The Church of the Poison Mind. The Church of Eternal Empowerment. Shazam, Reverend Dominic, Dark, Robin. That's actually super cool. I love that. See how different Burns' inking style is here? Very thick, juicy lines. Love that. Catwoman. Very cool. The Coming Crisis. Afterword by Stan Lee. Listen up, gang. I have a confession to make. To me, the best part about writing a story has always been that marvelous moment when I can finally type the end. What else did he say? I wonder. Excelsior, Stan Lee. That was the worst Stan Lee ever. I'm going to be dragged for days and ridiculed. Oh, concept pages and art. Oh my God, how cool is that? Pencils by Adam Hughes with the back cover. Wow. That's cool. I kind of like that better. Sketch by Adam Hughes. Did Adam design some of these? I think perhaps he did. That is very cool. Love that. Ooh, John Byrne pencils look very cool right there. I mean, I don't know. That looks so beautiful. Man, I love concept art. I love bonus features like this. So good. Now you don't have to buy it, kids. Although I got it for pretty cheap. You could probably find this on the cheap. So worth it, too. I mean, the art alone. Just a fun, like, footnote in history. If you guys like omnibuses, I think we're giving Don Simpson credit for quoting Omnibuy, although I don't know. It's so hard to come up with anything original these days. Ooh. Volume 3 trade paperback cover by Adam Hughes. Damn, they had like 3 volumes of trade paperbacks. Thank God I didn't have to go through all that. Kind of forgot all about this and then just picked up the omnibus. Love it. We're almost there, kids. Thanks for hanging on. I mean, this is a footnote in history for sure. You will never get anything like this again. I am so glad this exists. I am so glad they did this. So many great revisions of these characters. Just like wildly different. Totally worth it. I definitely recommend this book, you guys. If nothing else, for the amazing collection of just like unbelievable art and artists. So cool. Just imagine Stan Lee creating the DC Universe Omnibus. Amazing. You guys need this in your collection. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for hitting like. Thanks for sharing my content. And I will be back with more later. Thanks, guys.